Welcome to the Leader More podcast. Our motive is to pass on what we've found helpful over the years through leading teams, running operations, and dealing with life's challenges. We hope you enjoy. Like there's stigmas with teaching around, like you get 20 weeks of holiday or whatever.
12,
they have.
12.
It's 20, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like even that, like you were saying about like the 2-week breaks, like at Easter and, the
second term and third term.
Yeah, third term. It's like you're only really getting a week there, right? Because you're spending quite a bit of time preparing or finishing up the term.
Yeah, so you've got things that you need to mark and you've got things that need to be finished off from that term. So quite often you'll have the first week off and then the second week you'll be preparing or marking, getting ready to go back to school. And it's also not uncommon to go into school for a day or something just to get things done as well. And then in the longer period break where we have now, you can have obviously a bit more of a break, but then just before school goes back, it's good to go in for 2 or 3 days before school to set up your room and get everything in place. And then also we have 2 PD days, like professional development days. And, the school does give you time in those professional development days to help set up your classroom and, do like collaborative meetings with the other teachers and that as well to try and set up your year and what you're doing as well. So, yeah.
I'd imagine you'd classify it as probably a bit of a burnout job, like as in it'd take its toll. Like, I've got 3 kids, you've got a couple.
Yeah.
Like I don't know about spending so much time with them sometimes, but
no, it does.
You've got
and there
30 or something.
Yeah, there's in my class there's 24. So
year 3s,
year 2,
year 2,
yeah, year 2. Okay. So 24. But yeah, there is a burnout factor because there's always something to mark, there's always something to research, there's always something to plan. So there does come a point where you have to sort of say, stop and then do it tomorrow or do it after lunch or do it at the end of the day because you've always got something to do. But then you also have to be, when you're teaching, you have to be very present and in the moment, and you don't really get a lot of time to yourself while the actual day is on, if that makes sense, because once all the students are there, you're constantly trying to get around to sort of help them out, do what's required, lend assistance and those sort of things as well.
And that stigma of that 9 to 3 probably just isn't there. Like,
you do have.
What are you like 8:15, 8 o'clock, you get there each day? Like?
Well, the school day starts at 8:30 and you try and get in by 7:30. So you try and get in at least an hour before. And that's just to prepare everything. You might have an EA, which is an education assistant. And so you have to tell them what you want them to do for the day or for the time you have allocated to them. And then you're also just, preparing your day so you know what subjects you're doing and then what you have to do for those subjects and just preparing everything that needs to be done, whether it's marking or planning ahead and checking the PowerPoints are there and, all of that sort of stuff as well. And then at the end of the day, there might be a quick chat to 1 or 2 parents. There might be a little bit of, like tidying up, a little bit of marking, a little bit of setting up for the next day to obviously help the next morning prepare as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know, like 7:30 and you're there till probably 3:34, right?
Yeah.
Like, changes it a bit. You got to be on all the time dealing with year 2s, 24 of them.
Yeah. So you do have to, you don't get a lot of time to yourself as such. And then also as well, you obviously want to be present for them because you're trying to get around to each one of them and they're all different in their needs as well. So, when you look at it, if there's 24 and you spent a minute with one each before recess, that's 25 minutes. It doesn't take long for time to add up with what's going on as well. So, so it does, the time sort of does go pretty quick as well.
Imagine too, mate, at the start of the year, you're probably a new group. So you're probably trying to do that a little bit more to get to know them as well, make them feel comfortable in the environment.
Yeah, definitely. So they're year 1, pretty much 7-year-old kids walking in to seeing a new teacher that they would have just seen, at assemblies and walking around school. They don't know me and I don't know them.
Collis.
Yeah, and I don't know them. So it takes a bit of time to get to know each other and then to sort of, we do activities and different things that, like in a way where we can, get to know each other,
Break
see,
the ice as
see
such.
what they like doing, see some of their interests. And it's also important that they get to know me and what I like and my style, and, whether I'm, this person that's like frantically running around, whether I'm a person who's a bit more calm, or whether I'm a person who gets a bit more agitated or annoyed, or, that sort of stuff. So they need to get to know me and understand me, and I need to get to know them and see what makes them tick as well, because that's really important as well.
Yeah. No, I could imagine. And it's like over the course of a year, like you're probably getting to a point where you get to this point where you need a break, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you get to the end of the year,
Yeah.
you're finishing off marking, different things like that. There's probably a big push there to get that even in primary school.
Yeah.
And getting to these Christmas holidays, it's just like, hey, I need this.
Yeah, well, the last term is quite hectic, like getting reports, doing assessments, and doing all that as well. So it does become a little bit challenging those first 8 or 9 weeks, and then I think the last week or week and a half, you'll get presents and gifts and cards, and then you look and you're like, oh, like we've actually built a lot in these 40 weeks, and it's really going to be quite sad to see you go. And you always remind them that it's goodbye, but it's not farewell. Like I'll see you,
around
the school, and it's also probably good for them to have a new teacher and someone different in their life as well, not just having the same person, because you can get, obviously after a while you get used to each other as well, and how far you can push a student and how far they can push you before, and then there's that mutual respect for each other. And also, which we might talk about later with behavior management and different things like that. So the better you know someone, the more rapport you can get with them as well.
So you can tell that they know when to, like at a 7-8 year old, they know when to stop. Like you can.
Yeah, you can.
tell that.
And, you set that up at the start of the year as well. Like you set like boundaries and rules, and, we have a classroom rules, and it's really important that, we make those rules together. So then everyone's accountable. So
Get their buy-in on
it. Exactly. So they are, this is our 3 major rules, and we laminate it and we put it up on the wall. And then if someone, goes outside one of those rules, it's very easy to just point to the wall and they look and go, oh yeah, that's right. So, because we've agreed on it. And if you agree on something and you don't do it, then it's really easy. But whereas if you say, don't do that, and it's like, well, I never knew I wasn't allowed to do it. Whereas they know, all the rules and regulations, and it's all about treating people with respect, and, not talking when someone else is talking, and just little things like that can sort of, it's very easy to check someone and they'll respond straight away. And that's done over a period of time. And then after a while, they know, and it all works.
I imagine it comes from within too. After a period of time, you'll have some dobbers at that age.
Yeah.
Sort of, hey, look at the
You
sun.
do. You get a lot. You get a lot of reminders during the day.
Yeah.
And a lot of helpful advice about this person's not doing that. So
Yeah. What that process though of like, taking them on that journey, like how does that work? Like how do you do that? Is that just, you're sitting down together?
Well, it's at the start of the year. So it's in the first 2 or 3 days where it's like for the classroom to work, we need to have rules and regulations so that everyone can get along, and it's for everyone. It's for my safety, for your safety. And it's also to allow us to learn to our capabilities, because if we don't have rules and regulations, then nothing works. And then you can sort of put it out there where you go, like, it's the same as if we don't have police officers. Like, imagine what, society would be like. It's like, for us to learn, we need to have rules and regulations. So we're going to make rules, but you're going to be part of it, and you're going to tell us what you think. And you'll offer us some suggestions, and then they'll say, yeah, that's a good idea. Or we could change it slightly, and then we write it up together, so that we're all in it together, and then we all sign it as well. So then there's ownership on it as well, and then it's a good way of like everyone knowing that we've agreed on it. It's nothing that it's nothing too outlandish. There's nothing that's not achievable, all of that stuff as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was just thinking back to some primary school teachers I had, and most of them were all right, but I
Yeah.
remember a few
Yeah.
that were like dictators. It's just like, this is what happens. You can't do this, you can't do that. Like, it'd probably be easy with that, I suppose, power imbalance there of, to get to that point, because it would be more efficient to do it. But, longer term, like you probably have figured out, it's better to do it that way.
Yeah, well, I think if they have some buy-in and they have some ownership on it, then they feel they're part of it. And it's also a way of respect. They get mutual respect from you, because it's not like, oh, well, Mr. Collis is just telling me what to do and I'm doing it. It's like he's actually listening to me and he's taken my views on board. So if he's going to take my views on board when he asks me to do something, then I'm going to listen as well. So it's just learning to get that mutual respect from each other, which also comes back to, just building the relationships with them as well, which comes over time. But yeah, if you can get someone to sort of, understand you and you understand them, they're more likely to listen to you when something's not quite going right.
Any interesting rule suggestions from the kids over the years, mate?
Oh, no, not really, because there's a few that they probably suggest, and then you just say, no, that's not really going to work. That's not really going to work in this class. Yeah. And then there's a few that you might suggest, and they're saying, oh no, that's too heavy-handed. But it's like,
yeah. That's good. So the process of, like, you've got a curriculum that the education department sets,
yes,
like, to put your own spin on it, right? Because, and I suppose it's like ways like that, right? Of like when you go through like studying to be a teacher and everything like that, like little things like that, getting the buy-in from the kids, is that something that you taught, or is that just stuff that you've picked up?
Definitely encouraged, and you're reminded of that at university. Yeah, definitely. And then I think you also learn a lot in your first couple of years of teaching from other teachers, and you often, I'm quite lucky at the school I'm at, where the teachers are very giving with their advice, and you can say, oh, I'm having a problem with this or this. What should I do? And then they'll often give you like sound advice on what to do with a certain student or a certain subject or a way to teach it as well. So, yeah, because there's lots of things you do learn at uni which are really helpful. And then also there's stuff when you're in the cold face of the classroom, and you might do something that you learn, and then you might go, oh my gosh, that was a disaster. What did I do wrong? And then at the end of, like at recess, you might go next door to your colleague and say, oh, look, I tried to do it this way. And they'll say, oh, no, never do it that way. Try and do it this way or this way, because that way you'll get the student's attention. Or do that first, then get them to copy it down, then do that, or, just as an example. So you're learning all the time, and you're reflecting on what works and what doesn't. But then also something might work for one particular group, and then the next year it doesn't work. So you have to try it a little bit different as well. So everyone's different as well.
That's age bracket. So you do year twos. Have you done other ages as well?
Yeah, I've done year 5. So that's 10, 11. And I've done year 6 as well, which is 11 and 12. Yeah. So I've done 3 different age groups as well. So it's a little bit different with each. So year 5 and 6, you can build a relationship quicker with them. You can banter with them a bit more, because they're a bit more understanding of like what's going on in the world. So that's a nice thing as well. Whereas with year 2, they're a little bit more stargazed, and they're not sort of as worldly, and they just tend to comply and do what they should do. But then also with year 6s and year 5s, they'll tend to hold a grudge for a bit longer, or if you're not getting along well with someone, it's harder to win them over, because it takes more time. And then they can be also, nowadays with social media and things like that, there can be a few more like issues as well, like outside of, the classroom as well, and they can sort of hang on to those things as well. They're more worried about their peers, their friends, what their friends think of them, those sort of things. And whereas in year 2, it's a little bit more simplistic with what they sort of see and value, which is
often their own world, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's also a good thing as well, where, like you might have a really bad day, and, you'll come back in the next day and the kids will just be the same and smiling. And it's also the same, whereas a child might leave like at recess a little bit upset because they did something wrong or they couldn't understand something, and then they'll have a break and then they'll come back after recess like it's just a brand new thing. And they're very good at sort of just, switching off and just coming back and resetting, and just getting back to, and so I like that with the younger kids because they don't hold grudges. They just get on with it. And if something happens, they're like, yep, no worries. Let's just keep moving on. Yeah.
So year 2, you prefer?
At the moment, I'm preferring that because, I just like the simplicity of it all where, the kids are, like they get along with each other. They're not too worried about what their peers think of them. They're not too worried about what they think of themselves. They're just there. They're having a fun time and you're their teacher. You're just teaching what they're teaching. They go along with it. And like I said, if they're having a bad day or I'm having a bad day, we just forget about it. We come back the next day and everything's back to square one again, which is a good thing. So, you're not having to, you reset all those boundaries and things again. It's just, let's just keep moving on. So cool. It's a good way. That's the way I look at it anyway. Yeah.
With I'm just thinking back to my kids is like, I'd imagine too with parents with younger kids, I don't know, it depends what pops up and so forth. But I'm just thinking back to report cards, like our kids, teenagers now, it's sort of like you get the report card, everything's okay. You might have a quick chat with them, da-da-da.
Yeah.
Whereas when they're like, it's novelty, your bundles of joy are going to, pre-primary and kindy and year 1 and year 2. It's sort of like, it's all pretty fresh and mum wants to know what's going on and just, are they integrating well and all this sort of stuff. You're really onto it. So like that parent interaction is probably higher in year 2.
Definitely in the lower grades. It's definitely a lot higher. And also you find it if it's the oldest child, the parents will be, there's like, because it's their first one in year 3, first one in year 2. So they're very, a bit more worried. Whereas if it's a family of 3 and you're teaching the youngest one, the parents are a bit like, well, we've been down this path a few times before and we know that it will get sorted out eventually as well. But you do get a higher integration with the parents and that as well, which is like a good thing as well because it shows there's that care factor there and they want to help you help them as well.
Yeah.
So,
And probably mums, in general, or it's not just mums as well as dads as well, but they're probably at home because the kids are younger. They're more likely to not be working a full-time job. Whereas, I know with my wife, it's sort of like she's gone back full-time work when the kids are in sort of later years in high school. You can and you have less time. Whereas you're taking the kid, you're picking them up. They're very. I'm going to speak to Mr. Collis. I imagine like that whole 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock period is just like, do you get sort of hammered a bit? Or?
It's not, it can and can't be, like it's not too bad, but there's also sometimes like something will happen, say at the end of the day, like it might just be like nothing too major, but then it's also good to tell the parent straight away as well and then let them know what's happened so that, you can tell them your sort of version of what happened and, and that also shows that you're onto the situation as well because, like if a child comes home and says, oh, this happened and that happened, and then you haven't heard from the teacher, you're thinking, does the teacher know? Does the teacher care? Whereas if you can tell the parent straight away, that's how you build that rapport with the teacher as well. And then they will come to you as well. And that's really important that they can come to you and tell you anything that's happened so that you can then sort it out as well. Because sometimes a 7 or 8 year old will be a little bit sort of intimidated maybe by a teacher and think, oh, I can't tell them this or I can't tell them that. And something might have happened at recess, but you don't know about it. And then they'll go and tell their parents. And at the end of the day, the parent will come and say, oh, did you realize that such and such, this happened? And you're like, no, I didn't. So that sort of stuff can happen as well.
Yeah, building that relationship with the parent as well.
Exactly. No. It's definitely it's a different relationship, but it's definitely an important one that you need to have that good relationship with parents so that they are happy to come and see you. They feel comfortable telling you things and about their child, and also you're there as well, obviously to help their child, succeed and achieve their best. So they're only going to do that by the more information you get given as well.
Hey, why primary school? Like, why not high school?
Well, there's a few things. I think when I was first like going through uni or thinking about I want to be a teacher, my kids were at a primary school level age, so that sort of appealed to me. So, my oldest was, I think it might have been year 2, year 3. And I was thinking, this would be good if I could sort of do something to help him. So that sort of appealed to me on that level as well. And then I also think as well, like not having to teach like year 12 maths or year 12 human bio is probably going to be easier for me than like teaching year 5 or year 6 or year 3 maths and things like that as well. So that there's a couple of like different reasons as well. And I think, one of the big ones was, and also just like dealing with the younger kids, I just felt like that would be easier for me as well. With my personality, I just thought like that would sort of, be a lot easier than dealing with, older kids as well.
Well, that drama you were talking about in year 5 and 6 and just different issues that pop up, that's on steroids in high school, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And then that can, get a lot bigger and worse and, like as a 14, 15, 16-year-old as well. Yeah, so it does. Yeah, they've got a hard job, high school teachers, definitely. They're not only having to teach, but they're also having to deal with a lot of social issues as well, friendship issues and things like that. Yeah, so definitely. So, so that was the reason with primary school as well.
Yeah, man, I take my hat off to guys like yourself who teach kids. Like it's sort of, I could just see it as a burnout job. Like it's tough. Like, and you've got 2 kids. You coach rugby league as well. So, you're a WA 17 state coach. Like there's a bit going on there. You've got the NRL WA Rise program that you do some stuff with. Like you're essentially doing 2 jobs as such. You got a part-time job. You got a marriage and you got all this stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, going through uni and also listening to a few other people who had been teachers before, some advice they gave me was have something else in your life apart from teaching because it'll send you a bit around the twist as well. So, so that was, but it was really good advice, whether it's, you're setting yourself to run a marathon, whether it's, you've got a certain side hustle you do, or whether it's you're playing a band or whatever it is, but have something else in your life that you can separate from teaching. And so then I played football, but I never really coached. And then when I got into teaching, then there was a few opportunities to sort of coach, and that's how it sort of came about. And I thought, well, this could be my sort of, release. And it's dealing with, people at a different age group. It's dealing with a totally different, sport and things like that as well. So that was my sort of release. So, if you finish the day's work, you can go there and you can just switch on to that, and then you can come back to it as well.
So not so much that you played footy, it was more so a release from
from the job as well.
From the job is why you got into coaching.
So that was the main reason why it sort of all fell into place that way as well. I think when I finished playing footy, like coaching probably wasn't really something that sort of came to me straight away, definitely, because I just thought, I just played and I listened to my coach and that was it. I didn't really feel like, it was something that I wanted to impart on anyone else, if that makes sense. And I think it might have been, a maturity thing as well. As you get older, you sort of like can learn that as well. So
we're just seeing some cranky coaches that you had in your time too. It's like, you're a bit cooler and calmer than that.
Yeah. And that's different. Yeah, you do see a lot of different coaches, and same as like with different teachers as well. And I think you can pick little things about them as well, and you can definitely take lots of the good aspects of them as well, and the bad aspects as well. So it's it's interesting like that as well. And that's the same as what you can do with teaching as well. Like you can see what works and what doesn't work, and then you can refine it as well.
Yeah. I love how you said, I played a little bit of footy, like WA state captain, for I don't know how many years, 3, 4, 5 years?
No, I was only a couple, 2, I think. So,
yeah. Represented Australia, and I think you probably captained some of those sides. Like, you played at a pretty high level, from that amateur side of things.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed the playing, and it was, again, it was something that was, you had to be really sort of self-motivated and driven to do it. And, but I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the team aspect. And I think, the team success was really big for me as well. Like I was really big on, like just as long as I was part of a team that was successful and doing my role, that was a, major point. If we had a win, you'd always reflect on what did you do well to help for that win.
Yeah.
That was like a big thing as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I think I was a different person on the field to off the field as well. Like I could sort of
a bit more fired up.
Yeah, I think I could sort of definitely had probably a case of like white line fever and things like that as well.
Competitive,
get that competitiveness. And I think now, like I'll play touch and different things like that socially, but I just, it's very much social. But when I was playing, it was chips in, and it was win at all costs, and that's what it was all about.
That team stuff though, like you're referring to, was that, what do you reckon that come through? Is that just your upbringing with your parents and
yeah, I think so. Like it was probably it probably was a bit like mum and dad definitely would be, it's not all about you, it's about what moving forward and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's very much probably comes from there, and then also, but just seeing the like what you can bring to other people as well is a good thing as well. Like what if you can do something really well, it can drag other people along with you, or it can help in a small way as well. You might not be the best player in the team, but you're doing your little significant thing that helped do this or this, which helped the team win. So that was the big thing as well. Like I played like cricket as well, which again was a team sport. As well.
And like all those little, no one playing footy with you in the seniors, and did you were you always like found yourself into those sort of leadership positions, like as a captain, like through junior footy and cricket, or was it more so seniors?
Yeah, it was definitely seniors. Yeah, I definitely, like in the juniors, definitely not. It was more just playing and having fun. And then I think, the leadership thing, I think it just was put upon me, and then it was just one thing led to another, and it just sort of flowed from there. So it was definitely a bit of an accidental thing, but it was an enjoyable thing as well. I was very much more a doer than a talker as well. And so I sort of often thought about it and thought, well, if I can, do things and just show them how it's done, then it's probably better than talking, because sometimes you feel like you can talk, but you can't back it up. Whereas at least if you did it, you did it, and there was no, no second guessing you or things like that as well. So that was where my sort of leadership style was very much like, I'll do it and I'll show you the way to do it, and then we'll go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I always got that sense with you is that, like you were always just being yourself, like you were cool and calm, and like you said, there's a little bit of competitiveness, or a lot of competitiveness that comes on when you get onto the field, but it was still you, it wasn't what's going on with Marty here? This captaincy's gone to his head or anything like that. It was just you being yourself, and it was really natural. And I agree. It's like following someone that is doing it, leading the way, but that's inspiring, instead of some weirdo telling you this is what you should do. It's like, right, mate.
And also, I think as well, whether it's coaching or captaincy or playing or even going back to teaching, I think you've got to be yourself is a really a big thing like that I sort of try and stand by. You have people you aspire to, you have people you look up to, and you have people that you want to be like. But at the end of the day, like if you're trying to copy someone, you're not really being yourself. And I think, the reason people enjoy your company is because you are who you are. You haven't tried to do anything different. And if you're not being yourself, you're not being, you've been a bit of a fake to people, and people respect you for being yourself, and this is what you are. So they, follow along because they trust you and they know that's your style. You're not like one person one day and another person another day. You're the same person, which is consistent all the time. Yeah. So
with that sort of captaincy stuff, mate, like I'm just thinking, like with a lot of stuff that we do together with the younger kids, it's just like showing them like how to be a leader as well. Like you just pick up stuff from, people you learn from, and no one sort of necessarily pulls you aside. And sometimes you get a good coach that does that. It's like, hey, this is what I need from you. Nothing really changes. This is why I've selected you to do this, and this is all what we're looking for. This is what it entails, right? Which is really helpful and simplifies it. But it's like, I don't know, that cool and calm nature that you have. Like, was there a bit of a surprise at the start where you started picking up these captaincy roles, going like, hey, I'm not, I'm too calm for this stuff? Like, was there an element of that?
A little bit. It's sort of, I think one job led to another. But I think all through it, you just got to think, well, the reason I got to this point is for who you are. So you just got to keep being who you are. Like, don't change anything, because that's why you're there, which I think is really important as well. So you get to a spot because it's who you are. If you go and change, well, then you're not the person that they want in that spot, because they got you there because of what you've been doing previously, not because they want you to get to that spot now. They want you to do something different and radical. They want you to be who you are, and that way, you can,
we fall into that trap though. Like, I'm just thinking to stuff like, okay, I'm the captain or I'm the coach. I've got to step up now, and I've got to be like, there's all these people that are examples that are, and you see, let's say from a coaching point of view in the NRL, where you've got some really highly strung people. It's like, okay, I'm a coach now. I've got to be like that. And it's like, well, that's not who you are. And people will see straight through that, right? And it's like, I don't know, like early on when I was coaching, I probably fell into that a little bit. And I needed to be a little bit more crankier.
And you do, and you start to, second guess yourself as well, because then you think, oh, well, why aren't I being this, and why aren't I blowing up and being crankier? And then it's, well, that's not my way of doing it. I'm doing it a certain way. And I think you've got to be sort of true to yourself. And, you look at like coaches, I know it's at the highest level, but you look at a Craig Bellamy, who's super successful at the Melbourne Storm, who throws chairs around the change rooms, and then you look at Ivan Cleary and Wayne Bennett, who just sit there and like they're watching a movie, and they, so who's right and who's wrong? They're both, they're all really successful at what they do, but it's them being themselves, and the players know that that's what they're like. So, whereas if you're trying to, copy everything of someone else, it's not being yourself.
Yeah.
So that's where I think you've just got to, going back to that point about just being consistent, being yourself, because that's what got you to that point.
Yeah. Getting into teaching, like you were doing some driver instructing before, running your own sort of small business doing that. Moving into sort of teaching, was that why? Like, it was just you wanted to change? Or?
There's a few reasons. Again, just with the family, being a little bit younger, and with being a driving instructor, you found yourself being busy before school and after school and on Saturday, and then it sort of not fitting into the sort of like the perfect family, like you're not there all the time. And then also, like your kids going to school and then thinking, how can I help them at school? I think being a driving instructor, you were teaching a little bit. So, they just got to a point where it was like, I think I was 37 when I went to uni, and it got to a point where it was like, I either do this job, 37, I do this job for another 25 years, or I make the move and go to uni now and do it. And I chose the latter, to go to uni, because I just didn't feel like I'd keep doing the small business and doing the driving instructing for another 25 years. So, so it was just basically like a career change and going down that path. So there was a few different sort of reasons as well, why you sort of went into it. And then I was a driving instructor, I think I was probably 20 years as well, 15, 17 years or something like that. By the time I finished uni, it was probably 20 years. So it was actually a long time to do it. And then just got a point where you got a bit stale from doing it as well. So it just needed that refresh.
Daunting that? Like 37 going to uni?
Yeah, it was. But I think it like definitely like playing footy definitely helped, because it made you resilient and it just drove you. So you knew what you wanted to do, and you knew the outcomes, you knew what you had to do, what you had to achieve, and you were just very focused on what you had to do. And once you started, you just don't stop. You know, you don't quit. You keep going. You keep pushing through. So it was it's good for your mindset. There was lots of tough times.
Yeah, I could imagine grinding,
and like going to like leaving joondalup up library at midnight, coming home and then getting up at 7 o'clock and doing a couple of driving lessons and going to uni and, trying to get assignments in and things like that as well. So
throughout that whole time, you're still running your business, doing that, and studying full time.
So even though you say you're studying full time, you're probably there for like 2 and a bit days, and it was between, say 9 and 2. So it wasn't sort of too full on, but probably the difficult thing was I'd get there at 9 and I'd leave at 2. And so you had to do all your other uni work away from uni, whereas the people you're going to uni with were able to collaborate at the library after and get their assignments done and those sort of things. Whereas I was like at home trying to have to fend for yourself. And, this is the first time I've been going to uni, like trying to work out.
You got 2 boys at this stage too.
How to use computers and all that sort of stuff.
Really?
Well, yeah. So, and like how to use their, the ECU platform and all of that. So it was a little bit daunting on that aspect, but the end goal was I signed up for it. I wanted to do it. So there was no excuses. There was no whinging because this is what I wanted to do. So even when it was hard and difficult, you just had to keep driving yourself to go, right, the outcome is in 4 years' time, I'll be finished and I want to become a teacher. So for me to become a teacher, I need this degree. So that was all that was standing in the way. So it just had to be done. So, and that was a good mindset because, as well, like when you're playing footy and things get tough and things get, you're down in the dumps, but you just have to keep pushing.
Well, you let your team down, right?
Yeah, you push and you grind. And, like I'd said to my family that I'm going to become a teacher. And that's what you had to do. You had you had the boys there as a, so you're their role model. You had to sort of say, right, this is what I'm going to do. And so it was tricky, but it was, it was satisfying as well to get it finished as well. So
what was that like, imagine you would have been the oldest one in uni in your,
close.
Cohort. Or was there some olders?
Well, you definitely, like if there was a class of 35, you'd definitely be there would have been like 3 or 4 people about your age and that was it. And the rest of them were
just like 18,
19, 20-year-olds. Yeah. So, so it was definitely, and that was tricky as well because obviously they had all their friends and that sort of stuff as well. And you were just sort of by yourself, just trying to work things out for yourself as well. So it sort of, you did meet a few like really helpful people along the way that when you did group assignments and things like that would help you through it. And then, I mean, there was a few really good lecturers at uni that helped you along as well. And, one in particular said, if you turn up all the time, you ask questions and you're reliable and you're there, you're an 80% chance of passing. And I just thought to myself, well, I might not be the smartest person, but I can definitely get here every time. I can definitely turn up. I can definitely listen. I can definitely take notes. So I was just going through all the things I could do to help me pass. And it was quite interesting as well. Like, the first day of uni, year 1, when, you couldn't even get a seat in a lecture. And then by the end of so there would be like 250 people. And then by the 4th year, you've finished with about 50 people. So there's a really strong drop-off rate as well. So where people start that but not finish it. So, but that wasn't going to be me. I was so I had to keep pushing through and so that was, interesting with that as well. But I was just trying to, get to assignments, get them done and those sort of things as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah. You probably operated on some low hours of sleep though during that period.
Yeah.
Of time.
Well, you sort of had midnight as a cutoff point. So if you got home at midnight, then you could still have 6.5 hours sleep and then just go again. And that was, so it was just like work uni. So it was a tricky time, but also in saying that, there was other people doing it. And then you even spoke to other people who were doing other courses your age as well. So it's actually then it makes you feel better or refreshing that, people are still.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, exactly. You're not the only one. And then you think, well, if they're doing it, it's good enough for them to do it. It's good enough for me to do it.
As well,
So, so that also spurs you on as well. It's not like you're the pioneer doing it yourself and you're not anything radical. You're just doing what other people have done and it's your own journey, but you still take comfort of the fact that, like them. There's like a guy at school, he was doing an engineering degree and he was about my age as well. So, you felt, you go through the same thing as him. Yeah. So,
chat. That, you think about driving instructor, teacher, coach, like there's that thread of passing on knowledge and teaching. Like, I don't know, where's that come from, mate? Like, is that anyone in your family is sort of teachers or?
No, not really.
Or?
Not mum and dad. No. I'm not sure really where it sort of comes from. I think it's just probably a bit in my nature to pass things on. Like if you've learnt something, it's good to just like show people what you know and how to sort of give them ideas on what they want to do as well. But there's no in particular sort of role model or anyone who I sort of went through. I think it was just a progression that, when I was doing the driving instructing, I enjoyed sort of teaching us, enjoyed the sort of seeing the reward on people's faces when they passed. And that was a nice thing. And like driving instructing is totally different to teaching, but, you can correlate
still
a couple of things
yeah.
there where you're still passing on knowledge and you're still, seeing the success. And when people succeed, even in the classroom, you get like a buzz from it as well, that you sort of help them in some small way as well. Yeah.
Well, that process, that framework's the same, right? Like it's like you're getting someone who doesn't know something or needs to improve in something, then you help them along the way, and then you see them fulfill that. Like that's whether it's learning how to drive, it's sort of
gratifying for yourself as well, where you can sort of impart some knowledge that you might know. And I suppose with the driving, it's like a small part of their life, where it's just driving a car. Whereas the teaching, it's a little bit more like wholesome, where there's a lot of different subjects, and there's also the social and emotional side with the teaching as well. But it's definitely that framework of imparting your knowledge on with what you know to sort of see them succeed. Yeah,
that's cool. Behavior management of kids, like is that an easy thing to do? Is it about setting that structure like you were talking about at the start in regards to rules and so forth?
Yeah, well, I think it's about the behavior management. It's about being consistent, so they know what the rules are, and as long as you're consistent with it. And then the other thing is making sure you follow through with it as well. So if you say something, you've got to do it. Yeah, so you've got to do it, because then that's a way of getting there. Like this is in the classroom perspective, but if you say, right, if such and such is not done by this time, then we have to, names will be, on the board or whatever it is. You have to make sure you follow through with that. Or if we're not finished this item, then we're going to come back and do it after lunch, and we're going to have less time to do this other activity. So then they know that what you say is what you mean. Because otherwise, if you say something and then you don't follow through with it, you might get away with it once or twice, but then it all just becomes, white noise. Yeah, they'll figure it out. And
they'll figure hot air, this.
They'll figure it out at 6 or 16 or 12. They'll know, right, what Mr. Collis says, he means it, or he's only just saying that, but he's never going to follow through with it. So that's probably the biggest one is just making sure you're consistent with what you say and then following through as well. Yeah.
It's funny, mate, with the different teams I've been involved with, just from an operations point of view. And you will sometimes talk about some of the stuff that you have to deal with the team that you have. And it's just like dealing with kids, right? I remember, going and running some operations and lead some teams and thinking like, Jesus, some of the behavior that I'm dealing with, I don't even deal with my kids that aren't even, 10, it's like, how am I dealing with grown adults with this sort of stuff? And that, I suppose thread of, you can be all talk and you can rant and rave, but if you don't follow through with your actions, so say for instance, disciplinary point of view with someone who's, an adult and they keep doing something that they shouldn't be doing. Yeah. And you can tell them till you're blue in the face, but until there's some actions, like they're not going to change their behavior, and it's the same, like it's just a human being thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And it could be like a boss, where, something might happen at work, and if we don't meet these targets, then, 2 people are going to be dropped down to another team or whatever. And then, you don't do it. then people just think, oh, it doesn't matter. But if you do it and say there's a group of 10 in your team and 2 of them get demoted, then the other 8 are on notice going, well, the boss he means business, because we need to make sure we do our job. If we're not doing our job, then this is what's going to happen. So
yeah, because we used to do a bit of stuff with, like, we're talking about you fall into the trap of being a ranter and a raver, and you've got to be on the, whether it's coaching or leaders in a corporate setting. But it's like we would shy away from that. It's just like, well, what's the point of ranting and raving? Because if you don't follow through on what you say you're going to do, it doesn't matter if you rant or rave. People just absorb that, and then they'll know that they just have to get over that little speed bump of hearing you going like an idiot, and then you're getting all worked up for nothing. It's just like, be cool and calm. There's no need to blow your stack. Just follow through the actions. They're not going to follow your words, they'll follow your actions, And it's, I don't know, like that same sort of methodologies, we're talking about from a leadership point of view, captaining sides, right?
Yeah, well, I think, like I said, just being consistent and following through with your actions, it just has a more powerful effect, and it just wins people's trust over, a lot quicker. And as soon as you win people's trust, they'll buy in as well to what's going on as well, and that makes that relationship stronger as well. Which and then can sort of happen both ways as well, where they're happy to come to you for different things that they might have going on in their personal life or something like that, because they trust you, because they know that what you do, a lot what you say you mean, and also what you say you're going to follow on with as well. So if you say to, like even a student at school, like if you say to them, like might be something simple where it's something happened at the playground, and you'll say, right, I'm going to speak to this person after lunch. You'll quite often see the student like look at you, and they won't stop looking at you until you, but if you grab that student, take them outside and talk to them, then you come back, they know you've followed it up. And also it's like a little comment of like, I've just spoken to them about that, and then they're like, oh, well,
Doesn't fester. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like, well, I've asked, Mr. Collis to do this. He's done it. So that's that thing where he's followed through with what he said. He said he was going to say something, and he did. So, and that's that way of winning respect, because then they'll come to you next time because they know you're going to do something about it. Whereas if you don't do anything about it, they're like, oh, well, something happened. I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to wait and tell mum and dad at the end of the day, because I know the teacher's not going to do anything. Yeah.
And you find that's the same, I'd imagine, with, coaching 16, 17, 18-year-old kids to, coaching men's sides, the golf coach, like it's the same, isn't it?
Same. I think, if a player has a problem and they come to you and you don't sort it out, then they're going to like lose trust in you really quickly. And they'll think, well, instead of me coming straight to the coach, I'll go and tell 4 or 5 players. And that's where, like a little sort of infesting, like things can happen within teams, because all of a sudden, like, people are talking about different things they don't really need to. And it could have been you as the coach going, right, I need to sort this out. Players come to me with a problem, I'll go and sort it out with whatever. It might be that you have to go and see the president. It might be that you have to see another player. It might be that you have to see the physio, and then you sort it out. And then the player's right, I've asked the coach, he's sorted it out. And then it's just, again, it's that way of winning their respect, building that stronger relationship. So the next time, you might say to him, oh yeah, and by the way, in 2 weeks' time, do you mind doing this, or I need you to play this position? And he's like, oh, well, yeah, you helped me out with that thing, so I'm happy to help you out and play here or play there, because, you've done something for me. And so it's just a way of, that's the way I approach things. And sort of, you try and look at it from a player's point of view when you're a coach.
Dealing with, year twos, teenagers, and then grown men, is there, what are some of the things like with teenagers that is sort of hard that you don't see with year twos?
I'd probably what they're fully interested in terms of, like what they see on social media, what they get up to on the weekends, and probably
different types of conversations.
Different types of conversations. What really sort of interests them, that's probably one of the bigger ones in, like, because you're not obviously their age level, so you've got like slightly, some interests are similar, but there's some different interests as well. So that's probably like the trickier one with the teenagers, but definitely with the teenagers that, we're coaching as well. Like, it's been really good because they're all very self-driven, and they're really easy to sort of, they're very coachable. which is a massive attribute, in doing anything. They've just got, great attitudes and things like that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably just on that personal level, you're trying to sort of work them out a little bit as well. And everyone is different as well,
They get a bad rap, teenagers, and I know it's come up on a few different episodes that I've done, just about society. And it's always, our parents or people like us going, oh, kids are today, like they're this and that. And it's like, well, we're responsible for, passing on and giving the environments to the kids of today. And it's probably, if we're complaining about them, it's really our fault. But the kids that you're referring to, like, great bunch of kids, ego-wise, they're pretty in check. There's obviously some teenagers and they're full of beans and testosterone and everything like that, but they're pretty good.
Yeah. And I think as well, but as a coach, you can create that environment by, again, just going back to that, setting the boundaries at the start, being consistent, and then everyone knows where they all stand as well. And then just having those expectations on what you expect from them, and also sort of setting some carrots or goals in front of them so that they're like, oh, this is what's going to happen if I keep, keep my head down and keep doing that sort of stuff as well. Because there's a lot of teenagers are really sort of well driven, and they're doing really wonderful things with their lives as well. Some choose not to do it, but that's their choice as well. So
Yeah, we're just hard workers too, like, part-time jobs, catching public transport to get to training, from whether it be down in Rockingham or up in Joondalup to get to sort of a central location. Yeah. And they're always there on time and early, they're there, when you're setting up.
Yeah. And so that, you can see if you're like running a training session and, like a couple of guys will come in and you'll be like, oh, where'd you guys, oh, we had to come from Ellenbrook or, something like that, and they had to catch a train and a bus to get there. So you automatically know before even the session starts, this kid cares, because he's taken, he could have easily got home from school, mucked around with his mates. Oh, it's 4 o'clock. No, I don't want to go to training because I'm going to have to dedicate the next hour and 20 minutes of getting to, Kalamunda for training. I don't want to do that. So the fact he's got there shows he cares, he wants to do it. And, that's sort of the difference as well. So it's just sort of, getting that mindset into the kids, telling them that before it starts. And then obviously I think the peers as well is a big one as well, like who they hang around as well. Like if all their peers are like, yep, this is where we're going today because this is what we want to do, you'll follow on and you'll be like, oh yeah, well, I can do that because so-and-so made this team, so-and-so made that team. And they did that by, I can see whenever I've messaged him, he's like, oh, I'm at the gym, or I'm going for a run, or I'm going to training, oh, that's what I need to do to get to that level as well. So,
on
there's
the
a
flip
little
side, on that flip side, like if you pick up a couple of kids in year 2 that are troublemakers, or a couple of kids that are, full of ego in the stateside, like it's just makes your life hard. Hey?
Yeah, definitely. If they, pick up a couple of buddies and stuff as well, and then like that's where a little group can sort of fester and make it hard for the kids who want to do the right thing as opposed to the kids that don't want to do the right thing as well. So there is a balancing act, and there comes a point where you're trying to educate them and get them right to a point where there comes a point where you go, well, you're probably not the person we need in this environment as well. So
it just lessens the outcomes that the team's able to achieve, right? Like whether it's a school class or whether it's a rugby league side.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Mate, you coaching men's side, like you got a little bit going on, but you're taking on a senior side, North Beach, NRLWA. Yeah, like easy decision to make, mate. Like just firstly from a time point of view and things like that.
Well, easy in that, I live close by, so it's easy. My son plays there as well, so and I've known a few people there over the years when my son's been playing there as well. So that sort of made it easy as well. And then I think, going back to sort of the passing on knowledge, like I've been lucky with NRLWA, have sent me over to a lot of courses. They've given me, great opportunity to, coach some teams as well. So I just feel like, they've given me all this information. I need to pass it on to like improve the game in WA and help make it, better and better. So the opportunity sort of rose up at North Beach, and I thought, yeah, why not? Yeah, like it's a little bit because I'd sort of been at South Perth like my whole life, and sort of apart from a year when I was in Queensland, but so it was a little bit of a like, oh gee, going into a different environment, but yeah, it's good because I'm meeting new people. I'm seeing how other people do things. I'm seeing how other players sort of, like train, and, so it's refreshing for me as well, which is a good thing as well, because just the way one system works doesn't always mean it's the right system, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, well, it's just, different environment, all like-minded people wanting to do
exactly.
it.
It's all the same in terms of, the same structures and everything are there, but it's just like, it's just at a different place. So it's actually like, like quite refreshing for me to sort of meet new people and have a new challenge and new goals and different things like that as well.
Moving into that season, you just haven't started training yet, have you?
No, we've done a couple of sessions before Christmas, and that was really good. We had 25 at both sessions, and that was purely just, come if you want to, just to have a run around, and we did a couple of fitness sessions. And then, we're starting on the 27th.
Yeah, cool. So, how was that like starting? Is it sort of, albeit that, your son played there and you're a well-known figure around rugby league circles, you've always been South Perth. Like, and that's the arch enemy of North Beach, right? Across the years, there's been plenty of sort of grand final wins and losses with both those sides. Was it something that you were mindful of?
Oh, definitely a little bit mindful. But, again, probably just going back to what we said before, you just got to be yourself, and it's important to just like with all the players you're meeting, just build that relationship with them and get to know them, and then they'll get to know you, and then probably as well, like what you said, we're all pretty like-minded in the end. But I think it's just important, just be yourself, don't try and be anyone different. Go there with your ideas, what you think will work, and trust yourself, and just just rip in and have a go. That's all. And as long as at the end of it you can say to yourself that's what you did, then that's fine. So
it's funny, that dynamic, isn't it? It's sort of like, okay, they might be in an opposition club, but they are probably more alike than they're not, right? Like they play the same sport, they have the same interests, they might be the same stage of their life or whatever it may be, follow the same, NRL side or whatever it is, got some passions. And it's like you probably hate them more than someone that doesn't have all this stuff in common, just because of that. But
just because it's a different club,
and it just doesn't mean anything really. Like we're all so like-minded, and we probably should be closer. And when you're on the field, it's a little bit different. But, it's competitiveness.
So I'm like looking forward to it, and it's going to be a new challenge. But like I said, it's just meeting new people and sort of getting their ideas, and even like with meeting the assistant coaches and the manager and that sort of stuff. It's been quite refreshing just seeing how they work and what they're going to bring to the table as well. So
just different twists on something that you've seen a bit before, just because they've got their own personalities.
Probably as well, like what you've learnt from watching other teams train, and what you learnt from before, and what you've learnt from other coaches, mixed in with what they already do, and then trying to just find that sort of formula as well. So, the way I do things might be different to what happened last year, but, is that right or wrong? It's to be determined, I suppose. Yeah.
No, it's exciting, mate. Like, bit of a challenge. So outside of, I suppose, just getting to know the players and relationships and stuff like that, I suppose there's a bit of the same with the officials, like you said, and the club hierarchy and things like that.
Yeah, it's very similar in terms of, like the hierarchy, and just making, I want to really sort of try and get that connection between the juniors and the seniors. And like as the club coach, I really want to get the juniors involved, and really sort of show the junior kids that there's a pathway, whether it's, to play first grade at North Beach, and then also, with an NRL side coming in, there's a pathway going further up as well. But, they're quite lucky they've got a good junior system, but, I feel like with all clubs, I think the seniors and juniors are a little bit separate. I really want to try and bring that together and get the young kids, more involved with what the seniors are doing as well. Like the seniors should be seen as role models, and it should be a first-hand sort of experience as well, where kids are coming out, before training and warming up and like, having a pass or a kick with a first grader or something like that. And I think that's good for a first grader, and it's also good for a little 9-year-old kid who sort of comes up and kicks the ball with, someone they've watched on Saturday.
Yeah. And it's just I think it's like all coaches probably want to do that stuff, right? But it just comes down to a time thing, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, my priority is coaching first grade. I've got to get this right. And then I've got, a little bit to do with, let's say, the lower grades and, being the head coach and all that sort of stuff. But I want to do stuff with the juniors, but I just don't get time. Like, is that probably something that you're just thinking that, putting sort of some structures in place so it just runs, and you don't have to be sort of leading it. It's already set.
And I think as well, where you do have like some good people around you, it's like really important to delegate. Like I've sort of learnt that as well. And that probably comes back to the teaching as well, like where to delegate, like you can do this, and I can do this. And just having that trust in people as well. So, and I think delegating gives people ownership on what they're doing as well. So if you delegate something to an assistant coach and get them to put their sort of spin on it as well, there's a trust where they're thinking, right, the senior coach has given me this to do, I've done it well, they get some confidence out of it. You get that trust from them, so it's just a way of sort of doing, and then it's less time you have to spend as well because you've got these people doing different roles as well.
That's a big one, hey. It's just like, Marty, he entrusts me to do this. It's sort of like, but you think about it from your point of view, it's like, I don't want to be adding extra to someone. And particularly like what you said, you lead by example and all that sort of stuff. Like it's easy to fall in that trap, isn't it? Of just not delegating. You know?
And just feeling that if it's not done the way I want it done, then it's not right. And that's not correct because, everyone does it slightly different, but it still gets, similar outcomes. And you've got to, there comes a point where you got to let go a little bit and go, right, this is what you want to do. And because that assistant you have could be an aspiring first grade coach. So, your goal, sort of is, well, I want to help you get to a job as a first grade coach. So if I can give you this, this and this, it gives you that little bit of trust and, that gives them a bit of confidence as well. Like, oh yeah, I can actually do this, so that's, again, it's passing on sort of not only to the players, but to the coaches as well. Yeah.
Well, it's just that dynamic too, is like, okay, I've got let's say 5 support staff, right? I can delegate stuff, I can get them involved, I can empower them to do things, and they can grow and they can add more value to the group, right? And that will add more value to our outcomes and how we perform and all that sort of stuff. Also allows you to free some of the load of some stuff that you can get rid of and then focus on some higher level stuff that can, again, improve your outcomes. So it's just like a win-win, not necessarily even that longer term, which I agree, someone with aspirations to go further and that, I suppose, pipeline of talent and so forth. But it's going to help you in that season as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it just helps everyone upskill and it just helps the whole team, whole club get better and better. And that's your job as the club coach. How can I get everyone better? I can't just do everything yourself because you'll end up burning yourself out. And then, you'll probably just last 12 months and you'll be like, I can't do it again. But whereas if you can delegate and say, right, you can do this, you can do this, you can do that, like what you were saying before, it gives everyone confidence, it sees it, and also, well, it's like the players don't have to hear your voice all the time, they can hear it from someone else, which can be a little bit refreshing for them as well. And also, what that coach might see something little in a tackle technique or little in a way that the person's hitting a line or something that you might not have seen, and that can help them as well. So because you can't be thinking that you see everything, know everything. The other coaches can see stuff and they're like, I think one of my things is like I'm pretty good at listening to people and taking on advice and seeing what they know, and then sort of you can't sort of channel yourself out to just think, right, well, I think this is the way it's done, and if it's not done that way, it's wrong. And I think if you have that mindset, it's all wrong, where you can sort of take that sort of, oh, they can do this, they can do that, they can see this, they can see that, and it just helps everything grow.
That's good. So support staff down at North Beach, who you got involved?
So I got Kieran Tarrant, he's the assistant, and Brian Burns, the 2 assistants. So they've been like really good so far. And then I've also got my manager as well, Sam. So, and we've got reserve grade coach, which is Trudy. So she's helping out as well. So it's a good mix so far. And again, just leaning on those guys with their expertise, like Burnsy's been around the club for years and years, so he's got a good rapport with all the players and knows how everything works. Kieran's been captain of first grade premierships. He's won best player on best player grand final day, and he's played for the state and done leadership roles with that. So he's got a really strong link with the players as well. So that gives me, as someone new to the club, a link straight away, which is really important as well. And also, you don't really want to, being new to the club, you're not trying to change anything, but you're just trying to sort of see what works and what doesn't, and then just getting sort of advice and bouncing ideas off those guys who have been there before is helpful for me, because you might say, oh, should we do this or should we do that? And if they say, yeah, this works, or we did this last year and it worked really well, or this didn't work as well, then you can make some changes as well, instead of just making it like wholesale changes. And
probably good too for players that have been involved with the club for a while, just transition wise, a new coach who hasn't been involved with the club as much in the senior aspect, but you've got a past captain and player and state representative and a great guy that's involved with you, and
straight away
a forward as well, where you're more back.
So he can give us that dynamic on what the forwards are doing, and I can sort of do some more things with the outside backs and the halves and that as well. So it's it's going to be a good dynamic, and I'm looking forward to working with them. And again, like I've only met them all recently, which is good. So and it's good to sort of hear their perspectives on the game and what they like to do and what they feel is important in a game as well. And it might be slightly different to what you think, so then you can add that to what you already know as well. So and that just sort of builds your entourage a bit more as well. So and then there's a couple of guys who have strength and conditioning sort of backgrounds as well, and they're sort of going to sort of help out with providing some programs for running programs and different things like that as well. So that'd be good.
That's exciting, mate. And probably just putting you into that spot too, where, like you mentioned, it's just a new challenge. You're in a bit of a learning and growth mindset, you know, whereas teaching wise, you've been at it for a little bit, you know what you're doing and all that sort of stuff, but in this new environment,
it's a new challenge. So that's why it's exciting to sort of put yourself out there and learn new things, because I think the moment you stop learning, that course we were sort of doing in November, where they sort of about coaches, you're never too old to learn anything, and you can always learn from other people and what they're doing as well. And I think that's a pretty sort of big message as well. So you can learn from the players, you can learn from your assistants, you can learn from seeing things and reading things as well. So
it's just invigorating too. Like, you feel younger than what we are.
You
get a bit of a freshen up.
That's it. And that's important as well, mentally as well, because otherwise you can go stale, or you can sort of think, the way we did it, and it's not the way, because the game's changed. Like, even the year 2000 doesn't seem that long ago, but it's 26 years ago, and what they did in 2000 is a lot different to what they do in 2026, and it's not right or wrong. It's just different, and you've got to be able to adapt. There's plenty of things that were good back then, and you can still relay them, but there's also things that have changed as well. So
those early sort of sessions that you'll get into at the end of January and stuff like that, is that you same sort of philosophies like you're talking about with the kids? Are you getting a buy-in there, a combined sort of goal, what you're hoping to get from the season, what some of the sort of boundaries and different things like that?
It's going to be a lot of like working on a lot of basic skills, and just making sure we have a good fundamental basic skills and knowledge of what we sort of want to achieve, and also just getting a good fitness base as well, because obviously there's 18 games, so it's a lot of games, and you've got to be sort of have your body conditioned as well. And then the actual game plan and the structure will come a little bit later towards like our first game and first trial. But at this stage, it's just sort of teaching them the fundamentals on what I think and what the coaching staff thinks important, and just grounding those in is really important as well. And just some expectations around training as well, and what we perceive as being really important sort of rules that everyone's got to sort of adhere to make the club stronger. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's funny though, just how those different, I suppose, philosophies go across the age groups, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just, and then it shouldn't be surprising because we're all kids, or we're all teenagers still, or, whatever it may be. You know,
but having that, that thing about being coachable is really important as well, whether it's a 12-year-old, an 18-year-old, or a 28-year-old. You've got to be able to be willing to listen, be willing to take things on, not thinking, oh, I don't want to listen to you, I don't want to listen to you, because whether you're 18 or older, it's just not going to work if you're not willing to sort of buy into what the team want to do. And that's probably what I was saying before. Like, my biggest thing is about the team and team first, and you've got to be able to do that to have success.
Yeah. And that probably, I don't know, just thinking about that coachability is like, you don't necessarily care if you've got a player that's not good at something. You want them to be able to improve and learn. So they've got to, want to get better. I suppose that's a given. But also the coachability, not necessarily because you want them just to listen to you, because that's a hierarchy thing or anything like that. It's just that, hey, I can help you for the benefit of the team, right? And it's like those probably couple of things are like non-negotiables. Hey, like, there's just, you can't do much without that stuff.
No, definitely. Like, you've got to be coachable, you've got to be respectful, and then from a coaching point of view, you've just got to be consistent with your messaging as well. Like, so what you say and the level we get to, we need to stay at that level and be consistent. So that's sort of probably the three things about, being respectful, respectful to the club, being respectful to your teammates, and being respectful to yourself. Like, I think the players are a lot better at being, they look after themselves a lot better than what we used to. They just, the way they sort of, the supplements they take, the stretching they do, they're a lot more respectful of their body and how they treat it. Respectful of your teammates, we're all in it together. We're not trying to, no one's there making mistakes on purpose, but it's not making the mistake, it's what you do next. So treating everyone how you want to be treated, and then just being coachable. So making sure you're being respectful, you're listening, and that sort of stuff. And that coachability, or being coachable, sort of comes back to then all the other things like the effort and all those areas all come back through that as well. So they're the sort of probably the three main sort of things we'll be sort of striving to do. Yeah.
And you just focus more on that than some overarching goal of this is where we want to finish at the end of the year. Like, do you you probably have a bit of an idea of what you want to achieve?
You have a bit of an idea, but then at the end of the day, like, all 10 teams that are playing in the comp this year, everyone wants to win it, and we're no different. Like, everyone will start off with, our goal is to win it. And if you don't have that mindset, then you're not really doing it. But I'm sort of big on, how do you get there? Like, it's not sort of, we want to do this and we want to do that. It's, how are you going to get there is probably the biggest thing. Like, And
that fundamentals focus is the key for you? Like, you find?
Just making sure we're doing all those things correct.
To a high standard.
Yeah, to a high standard. And then once we get to a standard, we consistently do it. We don't do something really well for, like 20 minutes or 2 weeks or whatever. We're doing it all the time. If it's a low standard, we can just slowly get better and better. But if we get to a standard and we play really well, and then the next week we don't, why are we doing that? Like, we need to stay consistent with what we're doing. So that's a real sort of clear message as well. That'll come along. Yeah.
Coaching South Perth for, it was 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, you had a year off from coaching first grade, that year just gone. What are probably things that you picked up from that year coaching there that you probably will integrate this year?
I think there's lots of things you learnt as well, and through that year, and it was a really good experience. And I think one of the things that I sort of learnt was just like with the players we had. We didn't have many players, but just the effort they all put in, and it was probably just more frustration that things didn't sort of work out through lots of different circumstances. But you could never question the sort of the effort that the players sort of put in. So it's like one of the things I sort of learnt was, like, because then a lot of people were saying to me, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? How come we're losing? How come we're doing this and that? And it's like, well, I can't question the guys that are there, because every single player that was playing was like, putting in, and they were doing the right thing, but we just didn't have the depth around it as well. So that was the hard thing. I mean, our last game, we had, like, Smithy did his calf before it, and I think we had 13 fresh players, in our last game.
Limping through.
Limping through. So it was just, that sort of stuff was, it was frustrating, but, that was just
it's
the cards dealt. And I sort of look back at it, and it was disappointing, the results, but, I sort of think to myself, did I do everything I could to make it as good as I could? And, my answer to myself is yes. There's might be people that say, well, it wasn't good enough, and that's fine. But I think, again, just being sort of true and consistent to yourself, as long as you can say to yourself, I did everything I could. I couldn't have done anything at the time.
Yeah, hindsight's wonderful.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's what I mean.
We could all do things differently. But
at the time, was I trying to do everything I could? And, the answer was yes. Like, like I'd be like, doing lots of different things, constantly going through my head, writing notes, doing all this stuff to try and do the best I could to make the team as successful as I could. It didn't work out for, multiple reasons. But like I said, at the end of the day, at that, like I keep saying, at the end of the day, like, at that time, was it the best I could have done? And the answer is yes. In hindsight, there's probably lots of things, but we're all, like you just said as well, we're all a lot better in hindsight and reflecting as well. So
I just reckon too, mate, like those seasons, like looking at it in a positive light, like you are, it's like those seasons you learn so much, because like you mentioned, is like you're always trying to do different things or figure out different ways to get a response or to change an outcome or to improve, right? So you're coaching a lot more. Whereas let's say you've got a team that's really good. You've got a great bunch of players that are super talented. They're all on the same page. You don't have to actually work on team dynamics or anything like that. They're all on the same page and they just hit the ground running, right? This is easy. Oh, we're winning. When you win, like that's contagious within a team. Like it's easier to win once you're winning. And the same, it's easy to lose when you're losing.
Because then you can get in a position and then people forget how to win as well.
But like you just pick up so much on, you're probably jamming in 3 years of coaching into 1 year, which is, and it feels that way too.
Yeah, it does. And at the time you feel like the weight of your world on your shoulders. And at the end of the day as well, probably going back to, when, there was no excuses, like you're the coach and the buck stops with you. So if it doesn't work, it comes back on you. And that's probably that expectation or weight you put on, but you've got to do that to yourself, because if you don't, then it feels like you're making an excuse, and there was no excuses. There was just, that was the way it worked. And like I said, like you should always reflect, and I do reflect on lots of stuff, and that sort of, you reflect during the season and you reflect after, trying to make it work, but it just, it just didn't. So
Self-doubt though, like on the back of that season, and I suppose for people who aren't, knowing of that season that we're discussing, it's like a pretty proud club that, won a lot of premierships and has been one of the top clubs over the last, 20, 30 years, right? And to pretty much have our worst season. I think we won one game or something out of 15 or so, which is unheard of, but like, I don't know, on the back of that and then going into taking the gig at North Beach, was there a little bit of self-doubt or?
Like a tiny bit, but at the end of the day, you just got to go again, if you know what I mean. You can't sort of, worry about it too much, because then there will be a lot of doubt, and then you're sort of doubting yourself, and you've just got to say, no, this is what I believe in, this is what I think we should be doing, and then you just got to roll up your sleeves and go again. And I suppose I was a little bit lucky, whereas I coached the under-17s side, in between that as well. And we won some games as well. So that sort of makes you, but, there's a certain point where I remember doing the 17s game, and the first game we played after the season, we won. And I'm like, oh, it's wonderful. We actually been coaching, we've won a game. So, there's a little bit of that. But at the end of the day, you just got to keep thinking like what I'm doing, it's what I believe in, it's what I think is the right thing. And again, just trying to be true to yourself and just go that way is what you have to do. So the tiny bit, but you got to look past it because lots of people have been through it, and there's been lots of stories where people have sort of lost a lot, won a lot, lost a lot. It's just it's a merry-go-round.
You look at recently, just Maguire. Michael Maguire. It's like he's had a bit of a roller coaster of a coaching thing.
Like he got sacked by the West Tigers, then he won the State of Origin with New South Wales, and then but even the season with the Broncos, like halfway through it, people are calling for his head, and then he won the premiership. So you've got to just roll with it a little bit as well. And I think we can sort of like be really like reaction, like, as soon as something goes wrong, we all want to, like blame everyone and make excuses. Whereas I'm sort of not really like that. It's like, well, yeah, it's gone wrong, but why is it gone wrong and how can we sort of fix it?
Well, we just simplify such a complex sort of thing as a team, right? Like a team that's got a job to perform against 9 other sides, like you're saying, that all have the same aspirations that they want to win, right? So, okay, well, we've all got the same goals. Okay, well, is it just the coaches? Well, the coaches aren't on the field, right? Like, so there's an element there, a very big element, and who knows percentage-wise, but let's say a high percentage is that the players are out there. So the ability of your team is a big one. Yes, the coach has got a part to play, and I'm not trying to downgrade the importance of coaches, but in a lot of respects, you're a passenger. There's only so much you can do with the squad that you have as well, which is frustrating. Yeah. But then also too, it's a good thing to realize is like, of course, like you can have 1 or 2 bad personalities in a group that could stuff up a talented squad. Yeah. You could have a really good squad that has a poor coach that, stuffs up the whole year. Like,
you could have, like I said, you could have 1 or 2 players that don't gel and then the team doesn't reach their full potential. You could have bad sort of admin that doesn't want to recruit. You could have a club that is willing to, spend a lot of money and recruit a lot of good players, and that can boost up the team.
Has that club had success in previous years, which, builds on itself?
Yeah, you could have, nasty infighting between couple of, like a sponsor and a committeeman and something like that. And that can sort of derail, and filter down. You could have the coach of the 3rd grade, reserve grade, not getting along with the 1st grade coach, so there's a lot of different angles as to why things sort of work and don't work as well. It's not just like the coach and his messaging.
No, there's just a complex equation that we simplify a lot, and unfortunately,
and it's like, the team's losing. Let's punt the coach.
And it's not just in local stuff; it's obviously in professional sport more so, right?
Well, what's Ange Postecoglou? Well, he lasted, 30 days at Nottingham Forest, and you can sort of. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Whereas, someone's just gone, right, you're not the person for us, and they just punt you straight away. So there's a lot of that in professional sport. We're very quick to just judge and boot instead of work out why.
Giving it time. Yeah. No, anyway, that's interesting. But like you don't want to downplay the importance of coaches, but there's just a multifaceted equation that a coach has a small part to play in it, and is limited, right? Yeah. It's not to say that they can't, improve the chances or decrease the chances, but geez, there's only so much you can do. You're one person and you're not on the field.
There's lots of factors a good coach can do, and there's a lot of things that a coach can sort of achieve as well. But there also is limitations once the players are out on the field. Certain things as well.
See what happens. Yeah. Mate, it's been a pleasure actually talking to you about all this sort of stuff. We've known each other for ages and spent a bit of time playing and coaching together. But to, hear about some of the stuff, particularly about, studying to be a teacher and, how old you were when you were doing that. Like, Jesus. And just like the stress and the, financial pressure I could imagine at that point in time for you and your family with a young family, you and your wife Belinda, sort of getting through all that sort of stuff and getting to a point now where you're a teacher and doing all that sort of stuff and enjoying it. It's interesting to hear about, mate.
Like it's a journey, and I suppose people have all different journeys as well. So yeah, but that was mine, and it was good talking to you, and really enjoyed going through it all. So hopefully people enjoyed listening as well.
Yeah, well, best of luck for the season, mate.
Yes.
And yeah, not only just on the footy field, but in the classroom as well. On the way.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So yeah, enjoy my last sort of 3 weeks or so of holidays, and then we'll get back into it. And once school starts, it'll be pretty busy because it'll be school and football.
Yeah.
But that's all right. Like it's good to have lots of things going on in your life. You tend to be more organised when you are like that.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right, mate. Pleasure. Appreciate you, Marty.
Cheers.